Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's webinar. COVID-19 pandemic, social distancing, and staying at home is increasingly pushing the consumers towards online shopping. E-commerce platforms are lending a new lease of life to offline retailers in the current situation. Small-scale offline retailers and business owners are embracing digitization at a higher pace. Given the boost to the already growing field of e-commerce by the current pandemic, today we are joined by leaders in the field to deliberate on the theme for the webinar, that is e-commerce the new future? This webinar is organized by NDIM as part of our leadership responsibility in education and knowledge enhancement, being India's first and the only MBA school declared as a mentor institute by the Government of India and the CII. NDIM is a 28-year-old nationally and internationally accredited MBA college, declared as the best industry-linked B School of India for 3 years in a row by the AICT, Ministry of HRD, and the CII. Before we proceed, I will briefly introduce the eminent speakers for today. Mr. Narendra Kumar is a veteran IAS officer, and he served as the first chairman of the Competition Commission of India. Earlier, he was India's executive director in the World Bank in Washington, D.C., and secretary in several key ministries, including defense production, roads and highways, and culture, and was responsible for several major policy initiatives. He also worked as the resident director in London of the India Investment Center under the Ministry of Finance to promote investments and joint ventures. Our next panelist, who will be joining us at 6:30 p.m., is Abhiraj Bhal. He is the co-founder and CEO of Urban Company, formerly known as Urban Clap. Urban Company is the largest at-home services provider in India and UAE, valued north of 900 million US dollars. Abhiraj is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur and IIM Ahmedabad. He is also the recipient of numerous awards, including IIM Ahmedabad Young Alumni Achievers Award, the Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2020 by NASSCOM, Fortune India's 40 Under 40 3 years in a row, Entrepreneur Magazine's 35 Under 35 for India in 2017, and GQ 50 Most Influential Young Indians in 2017. Our third panelist is Rajneesh Kumar. He is the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer for Flipkart Group, one of India's largest e-commerce companies, valued at over 20 billion US dollars. Rajneesh has more than 25 years of experience across the corporate and public sector. He is an engineer and has done his MBA from INSEAD, France, and executive education from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. He is passionate about shared value creation and driving the responsible business agenda. Our final panelist is Gaurav Kumar. He is the founder of TourHQ.com. His company, with over 27,500 guides in over 5,000 locations across 208 countries, is one of the largest online platforms that connects travelers with tourism service providers. Gaurav is an alumnus of St. Stephen's, Delhi, and IIM Bangalore. He has worked in the banking industry for 20 years, and in his last role, he was heading the telecom, media, and technology sector for an Australian bank for their South Asian business. This session is being hosted and moderated by Dr. V.M. Bansal, Chairman NDIM. Dr. Bansal is a former civil servant and has been the youngest and the longest serving secretary, collector, commissioner, principal commissioner, and director of the country's biggest statutory urban authority, DDA Government of India, for 28 years. He has headed several public sector undertakings and has been behind the success of the biggest national and international events, starting with Asiad in 1982, CHOGM, and Commonwealth Games in 2010. He was appointed as advisor to the Lieutenant Governor Delhi in June 2010 at the time of Commonwealth Games. He is a special invitee to the committees on higher education of both FICCI and CII and the chairman of the PhD CCI Committee on Education. Now I invite Dr. Bansal for his opening remarks.
Thank you so very much, Ankur. And before I welcome the esteemed panelists, I would like to welcome all the participants of today's webinar. I was looking at the list of the registrants, and I was so very happy to see that they're from all walks of life. A large number of them are CEOs and CMDs and founders of various companies. They represent almost every college and schools, academia throughout the country. Some of the vice chancellors are also present here when I was looking to the registrants list. And several startup guys, the young guys who are looking for learning from friends like you people. So they're all present here. I welcome them all, and several of them are from overseas also, because the invites had been sent to some friends in other countries. So we'll be very, very happy to have this very meaningful session. And I thank very much our very senior friend and colleague. And I Narendra Kumar ji, Mr. Gaurav, Mr. Rajneesh, and the founder of Urban Club, the old name, will join us at 6:30. He had some prefix meeting, but he still decided to come and join us and be with all the participants to show you the ray of hope for tomorrow. So why this webinar on e-commerce, or why are we talking of whether e-commerce is the future? Although these things, my senior colleague Narendra Kumar ji will be coming forward with, so I don't want to dwell into those things. But I can only tell the participants here that all of you have seen the transformation and big transformation into supply chain sector and into the e-commerce sector. There's no doubt left in anybody's mind now that e-commerce is the future, and a large number of startups are coming in that field. So we as a college, we are a responsible college, being mentor college, the only mentor college in the MBA field, the country declared by the Government of India. So we thought it is our responsibility to apprise you of the infinite opportunities that are available in this sector. So that is how I will start with the whole thing. And I can only assure the participants and the students, in case they are there, doing their engineering or MBAs or other disciplines in the country, that at NDIM, we have e-commerce also as one of the very important components of our MBA to make our students stand out. So I'll not take more time. I request Narendra Kumar ji. Basically, he came up with the idea because of his such a long innings of experience in UK, at the UN bodies, at World Bank. So he came up with the idea, and somebody who has been secretary with so many departments of the Government of India, he still continues to be very active, very agile, and open to all the ideas all the time. So, sir, I request you to take the things forward. Mr. Narendra Kumar.
Thank you, Dr. Bansal. Good evening, everyone, esteemed panelists and distinguished participants. It's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be participating in this prestigious webinar. And I must thank Dr. Bansal most sincerely for giving me this opportunity. Basically, I remain a teacher. The best part of my career, which I started off in 1965 after my master's, was when I was a teacher. And therefore, whenever I get an opportunity to go to any educational institution, I feel it is like homecoming for me. So refreshing. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
It's a pleasure.
And as I was telling him just now, that having got the taste of it now, I'm not going to leave him again. And it would be again and again. So thank you, Dr. Bansal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you.
So why I suggested to him, and I'm glad that he accepted this suggestion, to talk about this subject, e-commerce, the future of e-commerce and how it's going to shape our economy in the times to come, that because of this pandemic, which has just struck us, and Doge's Duri and social distancing and so on, suddenly e-commerce, online behavior, everything has become the new normal. The delivery of goods, delivery of services, delivery of experiences, delivery of education, delivery of health, delivery of everything, medicine, whatever it is, without touching, without meeting, without going, it is the new normal. So therefore, e-commerce, the way it is now transforming our daily lives, is the new normal. And therefore, for a country like India, where millennials, the people who are below the age of 35 are used to the net and used to the e-commerce and stuff like this, I think it's really going to transform. As it happens, if we look at the history of SARS 2003, the entire Chinese economy was completely transformed as a result of this SARS. And we had the emergence of these big wigs like Alibaba and Jio and all that at that time. So, and because of the logistics there, they became the global supply chain and manufacturer for the entire world. I feel that a time has come that we could use this pandemic, well, as the famous saying goes, and you don't let a calamity go waste. And we saw what happened after the First World War, the Second World War, the growth of Germany, the growth of Japan. This is the moment for India, as the Prime Minister also said. And we know that most of the big companies around the world, whether it is Google, Sundar Pichai, or Microsoft, so they are all manned by the Indians. So I feel that with the Indian mind, the brilliant minds, we have an opportunity to come up with new ideas, new innovations, and maybe become suppliers to the world in various forms. And this opportunity, whether in goods or services or experiences or medicine or education, we are seeing every day the new kind of things coming. According to what we see, despite the loss of employment during the pandemic days, 4 months, the unemployment level has come back to the same level which was in pre-COVID era, roughly 8.5%. Before COVID, it was 8.75%. It had gone to 27% during the 4 months of pandemic, lockdown, and so on. Now it has again come down. And in rural areas, it is the unemployment rates are much lower. We hope that in the smaller towns and in rural area, there would be emergence of new kind of enterprises. And we will talk about these things more with the esteemed panelists, and we would also see the kind of initiatives which they are bringing on the table. As we just saw in today's papers, the e-commerce honko for the Amazon, for example, Jeff Bezos, he's been adding 53 crore rupees every hour during the last 4 months. And his total addition to his wealth has been 1,85,000 crores. And similarly, a number of other people in China and so on, e-commerce has given new opportunities. And this opportunities is something which I feel when we are talking to the student community and the youth of India, we must not let it go waste. And we'll talk more about it. But before we proceed, let us hear the esteemed panelists. Let's hear first of all, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. You have already introduced him. So Rajneesh, would you like to tell us a little more about your company and how do you see this COVID-19 and the opportunities emerging out of it?
Thank you so much, sir. And really happy to feel happy to be present on such eminent institutes, sort of talk to students, which reminds me of my own college days. Just to sort of, some of you may be familiar with Flipkart. Flipkart is a homegrown e-commerce company in India, which is in 2018 May was acquired by Walmart, which is world's biggest retailer and biggest company in the world. This is a marketplace model in e-commerce in India, as the policy allows, which means that we are a technology platform, and we bring insights from what consumers are looking for. We bring those insights back to the sellers, MSMEs, small businesses in the country, who are then able to produce these things or make sure that these products are available and sold to the customers. And sort of having said that, I think some of you will see that news. One of the things that we do very well, that this company is really driven by technology and innovation. And the whole idea for us is to how do we expand more and more consumers having access to value, the product. And our efforts most of the time are focused on not just making sure more and more sellers across the country are able to access the demand across the country. So it will help grow the consumption and hence the economic growth. But we also make sure that more and more consumers are able to engage with the commerce. For example, e-commerce, and I think that perspective is important. E-commerce is when you look at the overall market size in India, it's around $650 billion. I mean, give and take few billion here and there. Out of that, e-commerce is only 3 to 4% of the market size. So while we are all talking about growth of online business and others, I think this perspective is very important, that it is still extremely small component. While all of us are sitting in urban areas, see it a lot more. One of the things that we have tried to do more sort of a better is to how do we access Bharat, which is really in tier 2 and tier 3 town. Make sure that this because I'm sure some of you, in fact, Mr. Bansal and Mr. Narendra Kumar would be more familiar because they would have served in rural areas as well. I think product availability, accessibility, and affordability is one of the key issues, especially in the tier 2 and tier 3 town. And making sure that we bring access and affordability to consumers in that in that part of the country, Bharat as we call it, and also make sure that we give these insights back to the sellers, saying that, listen, this is what at this price point these products are needed. If you guys can make it, it would be fantastic. So this creates an opportunity for everyone. This not just helps build supply chain and you create more jobs into the ecosystem. It actually helps consumers access the products very well. It helps small MSMEs and small suppliers, artisans and weavers access the larger market, which I think is a win-win situation for everyone. It's create a more inclusive sort of ecosystem where right from the growers and manufacturers get more efficiently connected to the consumers across the country. So this is what we have been doing, though it is normally accessible in English. Last year, some of you may remember that we launched this in Hindi also, so that more and more customers can actually access the app, access the Flipkart e-commerce application. Because typically the English-speaking population is not really very large. So how many people engage in commerce in English? So with that view, we sort of expanded the portfolio to include Hindi as well. And you'll be happy that our progress on that front from an innovation perspective continued. During the day today afternoon, we launched 3 more languages, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. So 3 more languages will amplify more and more consumers, local consumers who typically have not been engaging with e-commerce in English, but now they have an opportunity, which also means that it will actually expand the market for small suppliers and help India become what you call Atmanirbhar, as a word is becoming more popular these days. I think creating livelihood opportunity, making sure that we continue to expand the consumption in a sustainable manner, making sure that we make less environmental impact is something which is very core to our Flipkart DNA. So yeah, I mean, this is a sort of a longer story, shorter one. I can keep talking about on Flipkart a lot, but if Mr. Kumar, if you want me to respond to a particular question, happy to in due course, or if you want me to go ahead and talk about what we have done during this unprecedented health crisis, I'm happy to sort of go on for a few more minutes.
Please go. That is what everybody wants to listen out of you. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I think when this crisis happened, I think of course I think our supply chains were the first one to get disrupted fully, because it was nobody was sure about what products can move and what cannot move. And I think so important for us was to sort of see how do we ensure that people continue to get essential supplies, because that's what they needed most. And we wanted to also make sure that, so business was not important to us. We wanted to make sure that how we can contribute to the nation at this point of time. You would be surprised pleasantly that we build ecosystem partnership. We talk to kiranas, we brought them on board. We worked with a lot of local FMCG players. We worked with retailers. We worked with including cab aggregators, because there was a supply side problem from drivers and logistics perspective, because a lot of migration was happening. So we try and build those ecosystem partnerships across to make sure that customers can actually stay indoors and get essential supplies. And while all these efforts were on, we also continue to collaborate with the state authorities, central authorities, to make sure that some of the guidelines, for example, essential, what is essential, what is not essential. Your essential may be my non-essential, or my non-essential could be your essential. So I think we continue to work on how can we debottleneck the supply chain? How can we leverage technology to sort of solve for some of the inefficiencies or challenges that the crisis has thrown for everyone. So that the benefit of all that exercise and collaboration was that we were able to quickly ramp up the supply chain in collaboration with all these partners that I talked to you about, and were able to bring back supply chain to a large extent. And it was not easy, because what we needed to do was to ensure that our supply chain remains extremely robust and safe. So we implemented all relevant possibilities and advanced on that in terms of making sure that everyone who goes inside the warehouses, we have a large warehouse, by the way. We have almost 150,000 people working in the supply chain only. And imagine the work which we have, large warehouses where you need to maintain social distancing, make sure that none of the cases happen, because one delivery boy or delivery person, executive, which we call heroes, Flipkart wishmasters, can actually make sure that 350 people are not on the road, which is a big one, because this crisis can only be solved by making sure that people remain indoors while their needs or requirements are delivered to them at home from a contactless delivery perspective. So we build that the whole sort of safety net, build those SOPs into the supply chain, and which is I think has brought us and brought the country sort of a lot of good outcome, because we have been able to ensure that most of the country through partnership was able to get essentials. And this journey continues, because it has created a lot of learnings for us. How can we, what are the things that we require from making our supply chain more resilient? And I think technology can play a very critical role. So we are also working with some of the government sector, some of the government officials on bringing technology-led efficiency and resilience to Indian supply chain. So yeah, that's a sort of a shorter version of the intense work that we have done during the COVID times.
So that's really very good, sir. Please, carry on. Narendra Kumar ji, back to you.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. That really gives a real insight by an actual user or actual company. So very useful. And in the Q&A, maybe we'll talk more about perspectives. So can we now hear Gaurav Kumar about what he has been doing in his TourHQ.com, what it was, how did he solve the problem resulting from this pandemic? So over to you, Gaurav.
And before Gaurav goes to tell you about his innovations, hello, Mr. Biraj, it's a pleasure. Welcome.
Welcome. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, your pleasure welcoming you. You have been sharp in time. Thank you so much for joining us. Your introduction has already been given to all the participants. So we were now with the Gaurav, and I must tell the participants that just 2 hours back, Gaurav had enthralled the PhD Chamber of Commerce people, and there was a big presentation, 1 hour presentation with all the senior people in the PhD chamber. So I'm grateful and thankful to Gaurav for sparing time for us also. Please take forward, Gaurav.
Thank you. So yes, so I founded TourHQ.com. So TourHQ.com, it's a marketplace that connects travelers to tour guides around the world. So if you're somebody who's planning a trip to Venice, you could have booked a tour guide through TourHQ, and he would have made sure that you had an excellent trip and everything was worked out. But then the pandemic hit. And then travel is absolutely a no-no. If you want to remain healthy, you should stay indoors, right? Lockdown in your house, forget about traveling to a different city or a country. So for everybody in the travel industry, it's been a bit of a challenge, and more so for our tour guides all over the world and the small mom and pop tour service providers who suddenly had no clients, and most of them are not really drawing a regular income, but are working on a job-to-job basis. So TourHQ has worked out again. So when times are tough, you have to think about what to do. What we figured is that once the lockdown is lifted, a guide can still leave his house and walk around, although a traveler may not be able to come. So we came up with the concept of online tours. And these online tours are virtual, real-time, interactive tours that are delivered by the tour guide from his city. And they're immersive. It's not like a virtual tour. This is a real interactive tour. I think I can talk about it, and it's basically a pivot. It's basically trying to adapt to changing circumstances, and that is very essential for any startup. Just to sort of explain what TourHQ has done, I'm just going to show a very short video, and then we have a tour guide with us in Venice who is going to give you a taste of what an online tour looks like. So just going to share a video.
I will show you Miwa 18, I will show you the Umschlagplatz, and I will also show you original elements of Jewish ghetto wall. I will tell you about this incredible history. I will tell you about important people like Jan Karski. He is thinking how to stop Holocaust, and I'm thinking how to provide you this tour. My name is Artur Górniewski from Warsaw.
Hello, my name is Jindra, and I'm a guide living outside Stockholm in Sweden. Today on this tour at TourHQ, I would like to share with you some of the farm living, some of the nice farm animals. You will see them, you will be able to hear them. I will be able to pet them for you. And then I will show you some nice prices inside of Swedish houses. You can see behind me over there.
I'm just talking to you in front of the Treasury, the most famous monument here in Petra.
If you want to experience your first flamenco experience, or if you are a beginner, I am your teacher. Come to me, enjoy this virtual travel to Sevilla, Spain.
Hi dear friends, we are Katya and Nikita, local guides from Moscow.
Hello Puzangola, my name is Manistri and I'm from Bhutan.
Hi dear friends, I'm Tanya and I'm a guide in Baikal area.
My name is Michael Adaya and I am a naturalist tour guide in Costa Rica.
Hello, my name is Marcos.
Hi, I'm Yumi.
I am Amir.
I'm Wendy.
Michelle from Ghana, my name is Husseini.
Hi, I'm Leandro.
I'm Keiko.
My name is Desiree. Everybody calls me Desi. I'm from Lima, Peru.
Your tour guide from Belgrade.
And I'm a tour guide in Berlin.
I'm Rafaela from Naples.
I'm from Japan, Myanmar.
It's Kevin Zulu, a guide from South Longa National Park.
Welcome to Oslo, Norway.
So that was just a small taste to give you an idea that, it is something that's all over the world. The pandemic has hit everyone. And I guess all of us have to adapt. So I'm going to hand it over to Valerio, our tour guide in Venice, who's going to show you a taste of Venice right now, and then I guess how real this is.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valerio. I'm a HQ tour guide. And after the greetings from all over the world, I say welcome to Venice. So you probably see from the back of my head that I'm in a very special place. So I consider myself a very good looking guy, but I think you rather prefer to see the front camera. So here we are. So this is the very center of Venice, Piazza San Marco. So before talking, let me show you a 360-degree view
Can
of
I just interrupt to say you would like to probably switch to speaker's view to get a full screen, if you like.
Yes, let me check because I'm with my mobile phone.
The audience. That was for the audience. So you're okay. But the audience, please switch to speaker view so that you can see Valerio's photo in full screen.
Yeah, because I think I'm already in full screen. You should change that from your device, I believe. When everything is technically okay, I think we can start to talk about this beautiful square. As I said, is it fine?
Yes.
Yes. And what I'm showing you now is the Basilica of San Marco, the religious center. But actually, this square was meant or was built actually over the centuries to impress foreign visitors, as I'm doing now actually with you in India, because that was actually the political hub of this superpower that was the Republic of Venice from the 14th century up to the 17th century. So let's start from the name. I mean, this is Piazza San Marco in Italian, so San Marco Square. I'm sure you heard about that. And if you would look at the map of Venice, you will find only one piazza. This is the only piazza in Venice. Piazza is the exact translation of square in English. Of course, we have other squares in Venice, but they are named differently because they had also a different function. So that was a celebration point, a place to impress people with the beauty, with the powerful architecture. The other squares, they were actually practical place. I mean, they were called campo. Campo means field, and actually they were fields. There were like vegetables growing. There was always a well, so they had a very practical function. So this one, I'm starting from the bottom of the square. You see these very long buildings on the left that I'm showing now. They are the Procuratie Nuove. These are called Procuratie Vecchie. Procuratie, actually, they were very large buildings. As you can see, there are 3 stores. And they were actually the buildings of the administration, of the bureaucracy of this very powerful and efficient Republic of Venice. You probably hear some noise now because this palace, the Procuratie Vecchie, which is owned by an insurance company, is now currently is under a very big renovation. This renovation has been interrupted during the COVID, so actually they are working very, very fast now to recover the time. And I'm very curious because we expect to have a very interesting cultural center, which was missing actually in San Marco Square. Then this building at the bottom, connecting the 2 sides of the Procuratie Nuove and Vecchie. This is currently, it's a museum, Museum Correr, where you can find masterpieces from the Byzantine time up to the 18th century. That was the newest building in this square. It was built in the 19th century by Napoleon. So Napoleon conquered Venice in 1797, so it marked the end of this very glorious republic. And he built his own palace. That was this one. So then it was actually hosting when Venice passed over the Austrian Empire, actually during the Austrian domination of Venice, that was the imperial palace where the Prince Ferdinand was actually staying when he was visiting Venice. So let's go quickly towards the seaside, so the water side of the plaza. So we will walk along this huge square, passing by this very nice historical cafe that you can see. Now there is no orchestra, but from in a couple of hours there will be also orchestra singing classical music or tango or jazz sometime. It is a very pleasant place where to get a coffee. It is also rather expensive, but I think it's worth the visit. The price is worth the view you have in the square. So I explained you why we call it piazza. So this is the only piazza in Venice. It is called San Marco because Saint Mark is the patron saint of Venice. And that was done because the Republic of Venice was in need of a glorious shrine, no, to also to impress visitors. And actually, they took a legend regarding San Mark because San Mark, it was said that he had a dream and he dreamt an angel, and this angel told him, "You will have a very difficult life. You will be killed because of your religion, but your body will rest forever in a very powerful city on a lagoon." That was actually Venice. That was the legend. But then the merchants of Venice, they made in the 9th century, made this legend true. So they they've been to Alexandria in Egypt, where the body of Saint Mark was believed to be conserved, to rest, and they stole actually the corpse of San Marco, and they brought it the corpse to Venice, and in order to celebrate that, they built this beautiful church that you're seeing now. The story of the way these merchants stole this body, the corpse of the Holy Saint of San Marco, it is here. Let me try to zoom. So there is this mosaic. I hope that the lighting is good. So you see from on the top part of the niche, this net, you probably see on the left the two Venetian merchants, and on the right you see some Muslim custom officials. And these custom officials, they look like disgust because of the content of the box. They're not disgust because of the body of Saint Mark, but the merchants, in order to smuggle, not to steal this body, they put the corpse of Saint Mark under pork fat. So that's why the Muslim officials, they didn't check the content of the box, and the Venetian merchants, the Venetian smugglers actually, they were able to steal the body and bring it to Venice and build a legend and build a church like this one. Regarding the tourism in Venice, I know it's a topic now. We also, as Italy, we have been affected by the COVID, of course. But I have good news. I mean, since 1 month, as you can see, I'm walking through the city without any limit. You see also people are enjoying this beautiful day. They are not wearing any mask because since 2 weeks it's not mandatory anymore. The situation has improved a lot. There are still some cases, but the situation is definitely under control. And also the first tourists are coming from Italy, but also within the European Union because the borders are open since 2 weeks. So walking through Venice, you heard some Italian dialects, you definitely heard some German language, some French language, and also some English from within the European Union. And I would say that these first tourists are very lucky because I don't know if you've been to Venice, but I'm pretty sure if you've been here, you do remember some masks were much more crowded. So just to give you an idea, the people standing here in front of me, they are just waiting to enter in the Basilica. So it's a very short queue. So actually these people are enjoying an empty city. They're really enjoying a lot this beautiful city. The queue actually is here because the access to the Basilica is restricted. So there is like, I think, a maximum of 200 people. So they're waiting that people are getting out to be allowed to enter because of social distancing. But as you can see, I mean, I would describe this atmosphere as very relaxed. And I hope I'm able to give you this quietness and this peaceful atmosphere, this peaceful vibe we have in Venice today through the screen. So I'm now approaching the Doge Palace, the real political center. That was the palace of the Doge, the main political institution, the main political person. I mean, he wasn't actually a king. So the Doge was actually, Republic of Venice wasn't a monarchy. It was more like a plutocracy or like oligarchy. The Doge was like, we can make a comparison with the Queen of England, so which has not a real political power. It was actually, the Doge was actually very controlled by several advisors. So it was definitely an oligarchy. So the power was shared between the noble families of Venice. Let me show you a detail of the church that I like since I was a child. you can imagine Venice was very powerful, was conquering actually the Adriatic Sea, was a superpower. Of course, making the war, he stole a lot of war trophies. And these four tetrarchs, which is in Egyptian marble, they have been stolen actually in Constantinople and brought here as a decoration. And I like to see them now because they're definitely not respecting social distancing. So they're very, very narrow, close one to each other. And yeah, I'm plenty of pictures of myself as a child here because I definitely like them. I was curious because the color is now it's under the sun, but it's like a brown purple color. And yeah, child are curious, and I have very good memories of myself here climbing on these steps and making pictures here with my father. So let me go now towards the sea. I think we still have some minutes to show you something more.
Maybe
And the use, yes,
I'm sure people would love to see the gondolas.
yes, I'm going to the gondolas right now. Of course, gondolas are on the water side. And let's say that this square is definitely all Venice. It's a city of calles, of squares, of palaces, but definitely it is a city of water. So I cannot avoid to show you the water and definitely the gondola, the most iconic boat, traditional boat here in Venice. While approaching the sea, the seaside of the square, you see here two big columns. On the right column, there is a statue of San Todaro, which is the ancient patron saint before San Mark. San Theodore, actually Todaro is the Venetian name. And here on the top of this column, there is the symbol of Venice, the lion, which is representing also San Marco. And this is probably the most iconic symbol of Venice. So this winged lion. This statue actually used to be a chimera. It is another war trophy from Middle East, and it was supposed to be like a big cat actually. And then they added, when they brought this trophy to Venice, they added the wings to make San Mark wing. So let's go to the gondola, guys, that are not making great business now because we do have some tourists, but not so many as they used to be. And so they're waiting here in the shadow, waiting for the customers. And I will show you a gondola parked here.
Most of them are from Italy, or are they coming from elsewhere as well right now?
Well, most of the, since 2 weeks, since 1 month, the internal borders, so between the regions in Italy, are open. So in the last month, of course, people after the lockdown, Italian people, they do wanted to visit the city, to visit Italy at least, because it wasn't yet possible to travel outside of Italy. So most of the tourists, they were, I would say, 100% Italian. Since 2 weeks, I'm experiencing European tourists, especially from Germany, because you probably know that Germany is not far away from here. The Alps, they are like 200 kilometers north of Venice. And after the Alps, we have Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. So a lot of tourists are actually even not waiting for a flight. They're just taking the car, making like 6-7 hours drive and come to Venice. And I fully understand that because think about it, you're German, you spend like 2 months at home during the lockdown. The first thing you want to do is go to Venice, of course. It's summer.
Questions for Valerio, please feel free to type it out. We'll ask him. Otherwise, otherwise we'll be, I guess, thanking Valerio sometime soon. Or do any of the panelists have any question for him?
Okay, so you have some problem with the microphone, I mean?
No, it's perfectly fine. I'm just asking if any of the audience have any questions for you.
Yeah, sure. I was just worrying about the wind because it's quite windy today and maybe you are disturbed by the microphone. So if you have any question, let me know. I'm here for you to answer.
No, that's great. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, if I may ask one question, I know that the limitation of time. What is the best, the peak season to visit Venice? Can you tell us when can we plan, hopefully after this lockdown is over?
Yeah, that's the problem. At the moment we have lockdown because otherwise my answer is now, because now you experience Venice that I'm Venetian. I never experienced Venice so empty, and honestly, it's very beautiful because you can really enjoy the city. Generally speaking, I would say, I mean, August and July, it's very hot. I mean, now it's starting to get very hot. We are reaching like 29, 30 degrees, and it's very humid as well. So I would avoid to come in August or July unless you don't take an hotel at the beach. So in that case, you can combine like a beach holiday with a cultural holiday here in the city. Otherwise, the best moment is May and September because the weather is great. In May, especially if you're interested in art, in contemporary art, in May there are all the openings of the new exhibitions. If there is the Venice Biennale, in May there is also the vernissage, the opening of the art biennale. Otherwise, in September is also interesting because you have the movie festival, and the end of September is definitely a very nice, pleasant weather.
So,
And
Vinayak, I have a question for you. When do you expect foreign travelers to come in outside of the Europe, outside of EU? When do you expect the flights to start?
well, from Italian side, the borders are open, even for an American. The problem is the restriction that you have from the States or from India, because technically you can come to Italy even today, but then according the regulation of most of the countries, when you will get back to your own country, you have to do 14 days of isolation or quarantine. So at the moment, the problem is mostly on the foreign country side. I expect personally the North American tourism to come actually not before than October, November. That's I'm optimistic, but we must be realistic. So I don't expect them to come in 2 weeks. And very probably next year, I do believe that we will get back to the usual level of tourism. I feel confident that there will be a good tourism from good numbers from Germany, from Europe, and for the rest of the world, we need to wait a little bit.
All right, thank you, Valerio. I think we're going to be running out of time over here. Thanks a lot for this. If you want to just stick a few minutes longer in case anyone has any questions.
No, yeah. Thank you, Valerio. Thank you so very much. Grateful for being with us. Yeah, we will connect with you once again. It's been really nice. All the participants had the pleasure of meeting you and also seeing Venice with you. Thank you so very much.
I'm waiting for you in Venice. Come very soon as possible.
And we too are waiting for you to come to India with us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure, it would be a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Bye
bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, now Abhiraj is there. He has been introduced, so you please take it forward so that we invite him.
Let's invite Abhiraj Bhal. We have been waiting to hear him. He is the biggest service provider online in India and maybe in the region. So it would be great to hear him, Abhiraj. Would you kindly tell us about your experience, about your company, and how you have been operating during this epidemic, the pandemic that we are facing?
And what are the future plans? What are the future plans or expansion plans? What do you think are the job opportunities which can emerge in the coming days for the MBA students, and what kind of skills they should be having? So that's what it is.
Sure. Dr. Bansal, Mr. Kumar, and the entire team at NDIM, thank you very much for inviting me for this very esteemed panel discussion. I'll first start by talking about what Urban Company, which was formerly known as Urban Clap, what does it do as a company? So Urban Company is a service provider for all types of home services, ranging from plumbing, carpentry, electricians to cleaning, appliance repair, beauty services, haircuts at home. So any service which you can imagine that can be delivered within the construct of your home, where a trained, high quality service professional has to come to your home to deliver the service. We are, that service provider company, and we use a lot of technology, a lot of smart processes, a lot of training to ensure that the quality of service is maintained and top notch. And as a user, the only thing you have to do is, go to our app or our website and then just make a quick booking, and everything happens as per your convenience, versus in the offline world where often you have to, manage your schedule around the convenience of the service provider. So So we have been around now for close to 6 years. And in these 6 years, we have painstakingly built the building blocks of the business, which is more than 100 training centers across India to train these service professionals, an entire supply chain of consumables, equipment and tools which are used in the service, and other strong pillars around financing support for professionals, insurance, and the entire technology layer, which helps us to control the service delivery experience. If I was to talk about the last, I would say 3.5 months, since this pandemic has hit, we are amongst. I would classify the part of the economy, with the services economy, where the human to human contact is reasonably high, and consequently, business like ours, should have been significantly impacted. So our first port of call, and this was mostly in lockdown 1 and 2, was to put business and business interest aside, and first and foremost focus on safety and the health of all our workers, and ensure that they have enough monetary support to get through the lockdown. And I think there are rare moments in one's life where one has to step back and not worry about immediate business returns, and think about the larger good. I certainly think that the nature and the magnitude of the pandemic that we have seen is probably going to be unprecedented for the rest of our lives. And so as a company and as a leadership team, our first decision was that let's stand firmly with our service professionals during this very, very difficult time. And there were many things that we did to help them out. One was we launched perhaps the first of its kind insurance, health insurance for all our service professionals, more than 30,000 of them. They already have life and accidental insurance, but this health insurance covered and protected them against COVID-19 all the way till June 2021. So if any of them gets COVID-19 for the next 1 year, they have both income protection as well as hospitalization covered under the health insurance. The second thing we did was that we had a fairly large one-time direct cash transfer pretty much 2 to 3 days after the lockdown was announced, so that professionals have immediate liquidity and cash availability to tide through the difficult time. And then over the course of the lockdown, we also started extending 0% interest loans to these professionals with very delayed moratorium periods, with the view that only once your business starts to come back do you give this back to us. And it was very heartening to see that as a result of many of these steps that we had put in place, only roughly 10 to 15% of our professionals migrated. And many of them have, since called us back and said that they would like to come back, and many of them have already come back, seeing the steps that the company has taken. And this is, in stark contrast to the rest of India, where, lots and lots of migration has happened. And because we are very much in the midst of the blue-collar workforce, it is quite possible that if we hadn't taken these steps, we would have seen 50, 60, 70% migration amongst our 30,000 service professionals. So that is, I think, one thing that I'm very proud of. As days progressed and we ventured into lockdown 2 and our services started to resume, our entire focus became around how do we help our service professionals bounce back, and how do we help them to deliver safe services to consumers so that they are protected and the end consumer is protected. And therein we launched this 7-step safety protocol, which involves the use of fresh masks, gloves, and face shields with every service, mandatory use of the Arogya Setu app, no services to be provided in containment zones, daily temperature checks of every single service professional, wide-scale testing of professionals, coupled with a first of its kind sick leave program, paid sick leave program, so that professionals can actually tell us if they are having even the mildest of symptoms, and they know that if they do that, they don't lose out on income. And if you study pandemics in history, informal workers continue to work through pandemics because they fear loss of income. So like these, we put in place a whole bunch of safety protocols. How do we deliver contactless services wherever possible? In services like haircuts and beauty services, how do we ensure that all the tools are sanitized? We are only using disposables. The PPE gear is much more robust, etc., etc. And it took us a while. All our professionals went through a 7-day mandatory safety training protocol as per WHO guidelines. So it took us a while to do this for 30,000 service professionals. But once we started doing it, we started seeing a lot of positive word of mouth from consumers and a fairly robust recovery. To put things in perspective, of course, we still haven't reached pre-COVID levels, but this month we would do roughly about 75% of the business that we would have done pre-COVID in February. So the recovery has, and next month we are expecting more or less to be at the pre-COVID level. And in part because we are seeing that word of mouth travel from one consumer to the other. I know for a fact that Mr. Kumar had gotten a haircut, and then he's at least gone on and told 100 people that don't worry, it is safe and it can be relied upon, and they are taking all the protocols. So our entire endeavor has been, we know that this is going to be a relatively long drawn battle. It's not going to be a quick thing, and it's about doing the right thing, which is standing by our service professional community, standing by our customers, and focusing on safety. And there'll be another time when one can. All of this also is in the right direction as far as business is concerned, but it's a little more long-term thinking that one has to view this. For your last question, Dr. Bansal, for all the students who are viewing this, either they are graduating or are in business school or have recently graduated, what does this mean? I think I would, my message would be, summarized in 2 words: cautious optimism. I would say that it's important not to be completely bogged down by the environment. It's very easy to look around oneself and say, hey, why am I graduating now? Or why did this happen to me right now? I graduated in 2009 from IIT Kanpur. And our placements happen in December 2000. So December 2008 is when placements were supposed to happen. And I remember 1 week before our placements were supposed to start, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, the global market and the stock markets crashed. And to make matters worse, 3 days before the placements were supposed to start, we had the 26/11 attacks in Bombay. And basically all the companies at that point of time pulled out. I think I don't want to compare that time with now, but it was a very difficult time to graduate. And, one can always say, hey, why did this happen to me? If only I had graduated a year prior, things would have been rosy, etc., etc. The reality is that over the last 10 years, I think the odds even out. I don't think, my career has, or any of my batchmates, their career has really gotten impacted because we graduated in the midst of a recession. And I would say over a 10-year period, I'm pretty sure that everybody listening would feel similarly. Of course, right now, it's, when you're right in the eye of the storm, it doesn't feel that way, but one should have patience, and in the long run, things even out. That said, it's also important to recognize that things won't even out very quickly. So it's not like in the next, 3 months or 6 months, everything will start to look rosy again. 2009, one of my learnings was that By the time things started to feel normal, it was 2011. And I have spoken to people who had, been in the 2001 recession. And again, by the time things started to feel normal, it was 2002 and early 2003. So things take some time to come back to normal, but they eventually do. And it's those of us who continue to have a positive attitude, who continue to remain resilient, it might take you longer to find the right job. You may not start off at the right job. You may have to do 1 year or 1.5 years at some place, which is a stepping stone to your next job. You should be open to many of those things. And eventually, as the pandemic eventually goes behind us, I'm pretty confident that the trajectories of all the students will start to look great again.
Thank you so much. In fact, you answered my another question, which I was thinking of asking you and Rajneesh. That was, how much time do you think things would normalize? Because you people are working at the ground level. You people are working with such a large number of households, and obviously into new technology, smart technology. So you've already answered that question. And that's, obviously government may say anything or we may understand anything, but you are people on the ground, you would really know our reality slightly better than all of us. Thank you so much. And the hope that you are giving out of your own experience, that's something I'm sure I was not expecting that, that is such a positive view you have given to all of us. Thank you so much, Abhiraj, for being with us.
Dr. Bansal, if I could also add to, since Abhiraj mentioned about my experience.
Yeah.
Tell in this audience that my daughter had been calling me occasionally, and she had started telling me, Papa, you are looking like Albert Einstein, the kind of hair, all over and dry. And I didn't know what to do. So I had to, as soon as the regulations permitted, I had to book it. And I tell you from my experience, they do a thoroughly professional job. The kind of things, the Arogya Setu, and then they come with all the, like a doctor, everything, fully covered, and they sanitize their equipment in your presence. In my view, it's absolutely professional, no doubt about it. And one can use, I've been using their services, the plumbers, electricians, and so on. I feel, and they've been expanding, I think UAE, Australia, believe Singapore or New Zealand somewhere. I believe we can say with confidence that it's an Indian company going to go places. Same thing about Flipkart, I would say. I'm sorry to say this, I'm more fond of Flipkart than their rivals. And what their experience, whatever I've been having. And these days, this morning, for example, I was going to order a few things, and my secretary was sitting by my side. He said, why are you spending more? You go on Flipkart, they're running a sale. And by the evening, it was delivered. They're fabulous. So I'm very happy about my experience with them also. So thank you.
Yeah.
So about the question answers, Dr. Bansal, now you...
Yeah, we'll do that. And Gaurav, already Viraj mentioned what you indicated, that they're back to 75% already. When the lockdown is just, opening up, they have been able to garner 75% of their, pre-COVID deliveries or sales or, revenue. So that obviously speaks that how professional this company is. I'm sure none of the best of the companies, even in the developed world, would have reached 75% of their turnover as of now. So that's a real compliment which goes to Indian companies and to Abhiraj and his team for really doing all this. The steps that they took for their people, for their manpower, that again is very highly commendable. So we need to learn many things. The whole world needs to learn many things from each one of you. From, of course, Rajneesh, as Narendra mentioned, that's something he only banks upon Flipkart and nobody else. And of course, the Gaurav, he's shown us totally new way to be a startup, totally new way how to still make your money while everything is in lockdown. You just connect with the best guides of the world and show them every small thing as if you're present there. So all the ideas of today have been really, I'm sure, used to everybody, used to all the people who are present here. And now I'll request Nikhil and Professor Bhumika to take up some questions which they feel, because I've been seeing on my phone also. The question answering what happens at our place, when we send the invites, along with the invite, we also invite the questions. So many questions are waiting for all of you. Please go ahead, Bhumika.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, first question is for Abhiraj. What was the objective of rebranding from Urban Clap to Urban Company?
A very good question, Nikhil. As Mr. Kumar had mentioned, the company had started to internationalize in the last 12 to 18 months. We started with first going to UAE, and early this year in January, we entered Australia and Singapore. So at that point of time, we had been thinking about, does it make sense for us to think of a brand name which is more acceptable and more universal across different geographies, and which over a period of time also allows us to, gives us the brand architecture to build sub-brands. Because we were cognizant that, we have within the same roof services, wide range of services ranging from beauty and haircuts to even things like painting. So there is the opportunity to have 3 or 4 sub-brands. And that's when, bunch of conversations with users internationally as well as in India, and some internal exercise led to the decision to change the name from Urban Clap to Urban Company. It was, felt that it was a much more universal and international brand name, and it also allowed for future sub-brands such as, Urban Beauty, Urban Grooming, Urban Spa, Urban Painting, Urban Repairs, etc., to emerge over the next few years. So that was the thought process.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Hi, Abhiraj. The second question is also for you. So someone's asked, what kind of HR policies, training programs, or incentives do you have in place to ensure that your employees do not service your clients independently?
So I'll answer this question in 2 parts. I think, one is our full-time employees, and we have roughly 1,300 full-time employees. These employees are working in our technology team, in our marketing and business teams, as well as our customer and service partner support teams. And then there is service professionals who are not our employees, but an extended family who provide services to end users. As far as our own employees are concerned, I think we've always taken great pride in coming up with some of the most cutting edge and innovative HR policies. I'll give you a quick, small 2-3 examples and not, belabor the point. But for example, this year we have made unlimited sick leave for all our employees, and we were quick to announce this immediately after the pandemic. We have ensured that not a single employee has been asked to leave. Nobody's salary has been cut. In fact, we have actually added and onboarded more than 150 people remotely since the lockdown has happened. So 150 full-time people have been hired and onboarded into the company since the lockdown. And this is not to talk about almost 1,500 service professionals who have been onboarded. So as far as our core employees are concerned, I think we've always taken great pride in having very, very friendly policies. Our stock option policy has been recognized multiple times by leading press as perhaps the best in the country. Moving on to our service professionals, service professionals, why would they not circumvent the platform and go and serve customers directly? It's a very interesting question, and a question that I get asked a lot. And the answer behind this question, and all of you should try to do it with service professionals. Some will try, some will agree, some will not agree. But in essence, what Urban Company offers to a service professional is the highest earnings for every hour that they work on the platform. Great amount of respect and a great way to completely utilize their calendar and therefore maximize their earnings. So I'll quickly touch upon each of these in 20, 30 seconds. When I say highest earnings per hour, you know, in the services space, there's nothing called fixed price. It's not like, you know, an iPhone where there's a fixed price whether you buy it from X platform or Y platform, right? In services, the pricing is established by the platform. And service professionals know that the moment they go off the platform, the only reason the customer asks them to do that is because the customer wants a discount. And the discount doesn't stop at the 15, 20% commission that Urban Company keeps. It's usually a slippery slope that goes all the way till, you know, 30, 40, 50%, right? Because once you've circumvented the platform, now it's between you and the consumer will then, you know, essentially lose respect for you, which goes to point number 2. Most of our service professionals really value the respect that comes with serving the platform. When you go on your own, you know, many a times there are a lot of last minute cancellations or last minute reschedules. When a last minute cancellation is done by a customer, the customer doesn't understand that the poor service professional is not going to get a new customer on the fly, you know, at 9 o'clock, right, in the morning. So he or she has to give up on the monetizable time and actually lose money in the process. And those kind of things happen far fewer on the Urban Company platform. And the third is the way the calendar of the service professional is utilized, where if you're doing one job from, let's say, 9 to 10 in the morning in a particular colony, if there's another job at 10 or 10:30, then we will try to assign it to the same service professional so that we can maximize their utilization. So it's a combination of hourly earnings and a maximization of utilization plus the respect, which most service professionals who commit their time to the platform realize that, you know, it's a win-win for them. And going off the platform, they will never achieve that level of earnings. Beyond that, there are many more things that we offer. We offer free trainings. We offer, you know, life and accidental insurance. We offer loans to our service professionals, and we offer the opportunity to upgrade yourself over a period of time. So you might start off as a level 1 service professional, but as you do well, as your ratings improve, as you undergo trainings and certification, you move to level 2, level 3, and your earnings actually improve. So all your incentives are to continue to remain committed to the platform versus trying to sidestep the platform.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question is to Rajneesh. Rajneesh, only 5% of the Indian population is on e-commerce right now. So how do the, how does Flipkart plan to handle the increase in customers in a country with over 627 million internet users? Just received this question.
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned during the conversation, our whole effort is currently expand the portfolio, make sure that more and more customers are able to leverage e-commerce to sort of engage with the small suppliers or manufacturers in the country. It's still a long way to go. With $650 billion overall retail market, e-commerce is still very small. And I'm happy to say that we have almost like 200 million customers who are using Flipkart, and launch initiatives like launching Flipkart in regional vernacular languages will also help get more customers sort of online. And it's a journey. I think it's a progress will continue as people get more comfortable ordering, and I think it's not going to happen overnight. We need to continue making those efforts, make sure that customers are comfortable paying online, customers are comfortable with the products buying online, because there's a lot of people among the country. My mom, dad, for example, they want to sort of look and feel the product before they buy it. So I think while India still is a largely young country, but I think as we expand, as the country expands from a content perspective, they have 4G's availability across, we see a lot of ramp up. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I wanted to I also highlight, most of the consumers into the e-commerce funnel come through the video. So they start getting familiarized themselves with the video content and then sort of gradually start becoming comfortable with online commerce as well. And with that view, we last year we also launched Flipkart Video, which is very vernacular and regional in nature. Mm-hmm. So that more and more people can consume video and eventually spend more time online on the app and eventually also start buying online. So spending time online versus spending money online, I think both the things go together eventually. That funnel to e-commerce is actually through video. And I think that adoption we are seeing very rapidly. Is sort of crisis like this also help making sure that a lot of offline businesses also sort of try and leverage e-commerce more. And my sense is whoever builds a better ecosystem, more inclusive ecosystem, make sure that consumers have trust in the products they are buying, make sure that the right customer service available, make sure that they see the value they are seeking is available to them. I think more and more adoption will happen.
Okay, thanks.
The next question is for Mr. Gaurav. Tourism is one of the most vulnerable sectors in this pandemic. What necessary recovery plans and actions would you suggest to travel companies?
I think that travel is going to look the same for quite some time. Even once things improve, I think borders may open, but someone at high risk cannot travel. What people will have to think about is different ways. The costs will increase. They'll have to maintain social distancing. Capacity will be reduced. So definitely there'll be different ways of doing things. But it's not all doom and gloom. So I mean, I would say, for example, what we've done, I think it's like, innovation. That's where innovation comes in. One of my examples is that we have a tour guide in Dharavi who got married in February, and 20 days after he got married, the lockdown was there. And it was a complete financial devastation for him because he didn't know what's going to happen. So he started doing online tours for us. And in May 2020, his total net income was more than May 2019. So he actually earned more in using these online tours as compared to what he was doing last year. That in itself shows that there is always an opportunity. One should not feel, okay, the old way of doing things is dead. Now it's positive. Now when you speak to him, he's like, okay, I know tourism will come back, but now he's getting his wife to do his virtual tours, which is partly cooking, because she's a great cook, but he'll do some tours outside and she'll work inside. So I think people just need to adapt, and the ways of doing businesses may change, and one has to adapt. That's basically it.
Can I ask a question, Gaurav? Can these virtual tours be customized? Suppose I'm sitting in my home and I want to go at a particular point of time. I want to go to, let's say, Istanbul or anywhere, Israel or wherever it is. And I want to see a few things. Or there could be another situation. There could be families which are split. I'm here, my son is somewhere else, my daughter is somewhere else, and I have my birthday, and we all want to assemble.
You're completely right. That these are exactly what people are using it for. We never imagined how people will use it, but people are using this thing for family reunions because, well, they want to celebrate a shared important event, but they're not able to meet in person. So, they book a tour and they enjoy life together in terms of visiting something. They're old people who, like this lady who grew up in Berlin, in a particular street in Berlin, and she just cannot visit and she's really ill. So she just wanted to see where she grew up. So she hired a guide who would take her there and show her everything virtually. So she felt much better having seen where she grew up. So people are coming up with really interesting ways of consuming things. I guess human beings adapt. Schools have reached out to us for making content for students for field trips. So, I think travel companies need to adapt, and as would many businesses. So that's my long short answer.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. The next question is from the audience. This is for all three of you, so anybody could answer or all of you can answer. The question is, how can we give opportunity to persons with disabilities or Divyangjan, entrepreneurs, artisans, tour operators, hearing impaired, guides, people to take advantage of your individual platforms? So it will be very helpful if any one of you can answer this.
Before they start answering, let me just mention something from what I have observed, that for women, for ladies, this is a very, very nice opportunity in the pandemic, in the e-commerce. Just for example, in the urban company, which I have noticed that they employ a lot of women in the beauty space, and which otherwise they wouldn't have. Their number of single mothers and many others. So in the pandemic, because of the flexibility of working, I mean, they could be post-delivery, women could go somewhere or whatever else. So I think there could be a lot of possibilities, but let them answer themselves.
I think, okay, if no one's answering, I'll just take a quick stab at it. And I'll say that we're a marketplace. So anyone with unique skills can, is very welcome to show their skills. In fact, one part of the entire online tourism is related to diversity and all that, whether it's be LGBTQ, disabilities, or, so there is an increasing trend, at least amongst our clients, to be a bit more acquainted with what's happening elsewhere in the world and what their personal experiences are. So that they, at least as far as TourHQ is concerned, we like to highlight the differences and, definitely what somebody has gone through. Someone's been a war veteran, someone's had an experience, someone's lived in a concentration camp. You'll find all kinds of people on TourHQ, and it does provide a platform for people to, express themselves.
Aviraj, I received a suggestion. Would you be able to provide chef on call? In home, sometimes there is need of a chef. So you may like to consider.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's you're not the first one who's highlighted the need for cooks and other household support to us. So something that we are definitely thinking about and considering. Reflecting upon the previous question, I think workers with disabilities. I think it's an important question, and I think all of us as companies, tend to do a lot for disadvantaged communities in one shape or form. But one of the things as a country, I think we are probably less sensitive to is the concerns of those who are disabled. If you just look around all our buildings, for instance, very few of them would have wheelchair ramps and wheelchair specific bathrooms and so on and so forth, whereas almost every such building in the West would have it. It's a good point. I think we have to, as a company, also think more about how we can make our platform, particularly for service professionals who might be good at what they do, but for example, could be mute or deaf. I think technology platform like Urban Company is probably the first opportunity for them to be able to do business very normally versus in the outside world, because now they have an app and that they have that interface. They don't even need to talk to somebody. They don't, everything can be done through that interface. The invoice that is raised, the payments are collected. So the need to communicate actually, can be close to zero. And therefore, at least, maybe not blind, but at least deaf and mute people, if they have the skills and if they can work with their hands and if they're a good plumber or a good beautician, I see no reason why, they can't operate with the Urban Company platform. So I think it's a great suggestion. I acknowledge it's not something that we've done a lot on so far, but I think it's definitely something to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next, yeah, sorry.
Mr. Kumar, I need to step out to hop onto another call, so my apologies.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. Yeah. I think we are almost done.
No, sir, because so many questions are there.
One last question which our MBA students are asking, if Rajneesh could please answer that. What kind of employment opportunities can the MBA grads look for in your company, and what are the top 3 skills that you're looking for?
So I think we as a company are proud to have jobs not just in supply chain but in analytics and high-end sort of AI, machine learning, and also business roles. logistics, supply chain, warehousing, we have almost 150,000 people who are working for Flipkart. In addition, a group company, Mintra, along with Flipkart, has several 15 to 20,000 people working for us. 3,000-4,000 are really high-end engineers solving for India, very complex local problem solving locally and creating innovations. So, the whole host of jobs for all your skills are available. We have been hiring, including in these times, as like Abhiraj mentioned, onboarded virtually, contributing virtually. So I think there are opportunity for everyone. But as Abhiraj also mentioned, I think some of these things, eventually things will sort of shape up. You guys need not be disheartened of the times. When I was graduating from INSEAD, when I took a break from my civil services days, it was 2008. It was a sort of a financial meltdown year, but we managed to be overcome that, and that is the beauty of human nature, and they sort of overcome eventually. My sense is that have faith, continue to work hard, continue to look for opportunities, and reskill yourself.
And Rajneesh, since you have to exit, we'll of course, keep on asking some more information from Abhiraj. You also mentioned about the technology-led supply, chains. And of course, Abhiraj also mentioned about the smart processes. So just what exactly, because we give a full MBA into data analytics, data science with AI, ML, and with all the latest tools, Azure and all that happening. So any specific thing that your company looks for in that sector, in the technology or the smart sector?
I'm happy to have a conversation with you subsequently. So it's a global call. Yeah. I'm extremely sorry. You need to sort
please go ahead. No, that is sufficient for us. Thank you very much for being with us. Please carry on. We'll stay connected.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you. Same question, I'll ask you, Viraj, because we have been trying to update ourselves every day as to what exactly is needed by the industry. And, every day we're trying to rethink and update and upgrade our curriculums. So what exactly do you think is the application base that you're looking for in the smart technology, smart processes?
Dr. Bansal, I think I'll answer that question slightly more generically versus, specific to urban company. I think if we reflect upon the last 20 years of our lives, one massive change that has happened, for good or for bad in our lives, is that technology has become all pervasive. The average time spent on a smartphone today for any individual varies from 3-4 hours to maybe on the higher side 6-7 hours, and that's a lot of time. It's probably more than half of our waking hours. Right? So I think one of the things that all companies have to recognize is that their consumers have, and themselves, their employees, their suppliers, their CEO, their senior management, their lives are now digital. A significant part of their lives are digital and revolving around technology. Yet when you look at companies and you look at companies' supply chains and you look at their processes, they have not yet embraced technology and digitized at the same pace and fervor. To some extent they have, but often companies have resisted it. Why is that the case? Well, most organizations are led by people who are well and truly into their 50s, because by the time you get into CXO and CEO roles, that's what it takes. A few organizations like Gaurav's organization and myself are founder-led and started by entrepreneurs, but most seasoned organizations, people are in their late 40s, early 50s, and therefore, all of these individuals, for all of them, they still very much remember a life and a lifetime without technology, without internet, without computers. Is very vivid and evident in their psyche. The life that they remember the transition that also happened. And for many of them, they would have resisted that transition. That's completely, 180 degrees opposite to all your students. All your students probably don't remember a life without technology. They don't remember not knowing what the internet is. So organizations over the next 5 to 7 years will very, very quickly move all of their processes, systems to technology platforms and to digital platforms. Today, organizations have, and this pandemic has made them realize that, that is core to survival. And this is not just, companies like TourHQ or Flipkart or Urban Company, which are fundamentally technology first. This includes, today, oil and gas companies, for example, are heavily running their operations on technology platforms. They're hiring people from technology platforms like RigUp. All their workforce management, software deployment, project management solutions, all of it is happening on a core technology architecture and a technology platform. So I think the big change that the world is going to see is this transition to technology, and consequently, for all your students, the real question that they have to ask themselves is, are they going to be part of this change, or are they going to resist this change, and therefore, are they going to be part of technology-led companies and starting their careers there, or are they going to be in organizations which are resisting this change, right? And then, if you allow me a minute, I'd love to talk about the story that Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
No, we would please go ahead. We have no shortage of time. Please go ahead. We want to learn out of you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great story that Mr. Bezos at Amazon had talked about in 2001, right after the dot-com crash had happened. And the story actually goes back into the late 19th century, around the time of the electricity revolution. None of us were around, but there's a lot that has been written, and it's very well documented at that time. The last quartile of the 19th century was really when the electricity revolution had kicked off, and it was just like the internet, the age of the internet. At that time, it was a big deal. Electricity had become all pervasive. The light bulb had come. You didn't need to light a candle anymore. It was a pretty big deal. And the first set of appliances had started to come towards the turn of the century. Until then, the only application that electricity had was light bulbs. And to tell you how archaic things were, if you had to use your appliance, you basically had to unscrew the light bulb and screw the appliance in the socket of the light bulb, because there was no socket as such. There was no socket as such. This is, late 1800s, early 1900s. And cities were digging up the entire city to lay these cables, electric cables. And everybody was highly frustrated because, their city, as they knew it, was getting upheavaled. And the whole question was, what is all this fuss? What is the big deal with the electricity sector? And somebody famously wrote in I think one of the leading dailies of the time, saying, how many light bulbs does the world need? Right? Like, why is it that there's this whole hoopla around the electricity sector? People want to work for this sector. Cities are being dug up. I mean, what's the big deal? At most, there's only X number of light bulbs that the world needs. Right. And of course, one could not fully imagine at that point of time, in the turn of the 20th century, all the applications that electricity would have, because the electricity was not just, it was actually a technology layer on top of which so many applications came. Light bulb was only one application. You had appliances, which became such a humongous industry. You had transportation. You had eventually the internet. I mean, data. All of these applications were built on top of the electricity layer or technology stack.
Correct.
For me, the internet is very similar. And what we are really seeing in the first 20, 25 years since the internet has come about is the first sort of phase of these applications, right? So when we imagine internet companies, we say, hey, it's an app or a website. Apps or websites are really, for me, the light bulbs. What were the light bulbs of the electricity era? There is so much that is going to happen, with technology and with the internet over the next 50 years, which we can't imagine today. Every industry will be reimagined, and therefore, as a student, if I was graduating today, I would have no question in my mind that I want to work for a company or an organization that is at the heart of where the technology is at the heart of the company, so that I am in the leading edge of what is going to unfold really over the next 10, 20 years in my career.
Very right. No, I think, you said it. It's very, very important here. That's very, very important. Gaurav, you have to add something here?
No, I think Abhiraj is absolutely right in what he said. I've been a banker for 20 years. And to be honest, I've worked in a number of banks in all kinds of things. The last, I was a sector specialist wherein I was heading the Telecom, Media, Entertainment Technology for a bank. One thing I can tell you is that banks are fairly resistant to change, no matter what they say. And I see the writing on the wall that it's a dinosaur, and it's, one does need to see that, people may think that there's a way of doing things, but it's all going to be leapfrogged. And you just need to figure out which are the companies that will leapfrog and just change the rules of the game. So they just change the goalpost completely. And that is what is going to happen. And what skills do you need for that? I think the most important thing is literally the smarts and being actually a smart person. Read up a lot, know what's going around, not just the bookish knowledge, but really know what's going on. If someone asks you, name me 10 countries in Africa, you should be able to. So it's like, just know the world around you, understand what's going on. And I think, you'll do well. You'll do well because the world will keep on changing. You can study and prepare for the world right now, but it'll look very different 5 years from now.
Quite right.
Can I, Dr.
Yeah, please, sir. Please, sir.
Suppose after lockdown, I wish to plan a trip. Suppose I wish to go to Jerusalem, or I wish to go to Lebanon, or I wish to go to Istanbul, anywhere. Then if I undertake a virtual trip now during the lockdown days when I have plenty of time, won't it help me in planning the trip subsequently?
Certainly.
Where should I go? How much time should I give? Which are the places I should include in my itinerary? What do you say about it to Gaurav?
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. A lot of our clients actually book this because they're planning a trip. It just helps them choose the number of days, so you book a trip and say, okay, I didn't like that city. No point wasting my time going there. So it does help a lot in the planning process. And actually these trips are around the cost of a movie ticket or a family movie out. So it makes sense.
And they may even book the same guide also.
That's why he's doing it in the first place. Right now he has no business, so he's giving these trips fairly economically because once it helps him get something. Two, he hopes to be able to get the same client when they come back.
Right. You can have one or two more questions so that we don't hold them beyond a point. Because I know the questions are so many I've been receiving. You please take the final one question each, both of you, and then we can thank everybody.
Okay, I'll take one. That's for Mr. Gaurav. So one of our HR student has asked that how is the company managing 27,000 plus tour guides at 1,000 plus locations in terms of employee management, and what is the model which the company is following in terms of these employees?
All right. So first, I think I would say that they're not employees. They're, I guess, freelancers who work. So we're a marketplace, but still we do have to manage them, and we have to train them up and all that. So what we keep on evolving the system, but currently we've got a system of relationship managers, and each relationship manager has a network of guides that works for them. And the relationship manager makes sure that the guides are trained, that they're meeting their local regulations, and we have to stay on top of what are the local regulations for a particular area. So from a HR perspective, it is getting very challenging. At times, so what we do rely on is customer feedback. The customer feedback is, at the end of the day, the reviews, etc. So it's not a, well, it's sort of an HR tool as well. So if you're working in a company, you have the review system, right, wherein your line manager gives a review. In a marketplace, it's really the reviews, the customers' reviews that make a difference. So I'd say it's you have to look at a variety of things in this, so we literally have to learn our way through this. There's no set method, because when you're trying out a new thing, there's really no set method for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So my question is to Dhanendra sir. Sir, what is the view of Competition Commission of India with respect to excessive discounting, which is happening on all e-commerce sites? Because when I go to my market in Delhi, in like Lajpat Nagar or Nehru Place, I always compare all the products, first on the e-commerce side, and then I go and just try to bargain at the shop. So what is the view of Competition Commission of India with respect to this, sir?
Well, that's a long question. If I were to start answering this question, that would take probably a full evening. And with reference to the various judgments of the Competition Commission and the subsequent orders thereafter. Broadly speaking, Competition Commission of India is looking after the interest of both the trade and also the consumers. If it is benefiting consumers, it's okay, doesn't matter. But sometimes what happens that somebody wants to cut costs primarily with a view to gain excessive market share, which is known as, first of all, to get dominance and then abuse of dominance. Somebody deep-pocketed, suppose he does it. That is investment for future. That's a different thing. But if a trader or someone is trying to cut his margin and trying to give it at a cheaper price to the consumer, there is no harm. At the end of the day, what Competition Commission is looking into is that what they call is there is no appreciable adverse impact on the market. They have to see that the competition in the market remains. Who are the main players? Whether the competition is fair, whether they are playing according to the rules of the game. If they are, then it's okay. But if they are not, then there are various methods to judge it. They undertake market studies and so on. But I'll be very happy to have a full session on this subject, the view of Competition Commission of India on e-commerce, on the excessive discounting, on the various practices with a reference to the case law.
Oh, very good, sir. It will be very beneficial for our institute, sir. Thank you so much.
And especially because he started his career as a teacher, as a professor, so he knows what it is and what exactly you people are looking for.
Yes, sir.
I started off my career as a teacher. Yeah. Can you imagine when? That was exactly 55 years ago. 1965, when I passed out from university in 1965, I joined as a professor.
Sir, that's what it is. So that continues to be a part of your, thinking processes. Yeah.
I joined IAS in 1968 thereafter.
I know, sir. Yes. Any more final questions so that we try to close it?
I think I'm done, Professor Bhumika.
We've covered everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm seeing more than 250 participants still around because the entire discussion has been very useful, and I'm sure very new things, so many new things have come to everybody's knowledge domain. Even I have come across so many new things from each one of you. And one aspect which has been very striking is the hope that the e-commerce sector is actually leading not only the local markets, but leading the country in a very, very big way. And I'm sure in the coming days, with the feeling of anti-China gradually emerging, I'm sure the biggest gainers are going to be our e-commerce platforms. Of course, they would have to look for new supply chains. It's a big challenge for them. But in the longer run, I suppose this is going to be a big, big benefit to, you people. What do you say, Abhiraj, on to that?
Yes, I think this is definitely going to accelerate the adoption of e-commerce across different industries. We've already seen significant acceleration happen in China and the US, which are 3-4 months ahead of India in the pandemic. US actually, it's a very interesting statistic. I think they've managed to accelerate 5 years worth of e-commerce adoption in a 5-month span. So e-commerce is definitely in the in the medium term, I would say, not even the long term, in the medium term, going to be one of the big gainers from, and there will be share shift.
And also to supplement what Abhiraj just mentioned, already we can see the change. For example, consultation with a doctor. Earlier we had to go to the hospital. Now we carry teleconsultation. We have ourselves done it. It's so easy. You save so much time and physical interaction. Then there are similarly for education, tele-education, lectures and so on. There are music classes. Then there are various other applications online. I think the culture is changing. There is a considerable shift, a paradigm shift in the thinking and the behavior of people. And across the country, even rural areas and small towns.
Quite right. Very right. No, that's very useful.
Everything.
Thank you very much, Narendra Kumar ji, for coordinating the entire event and for leading the event. You have been such a close friend and a guide to me for more than 25 years now. But thank you so much for giving this great opportunity once again. Thank you, Gaurav, from joining us from Singapore, showing us entirely new direction to the tourism sector, which was seemingly collapsing, but new things are emerging out of it. And Abhiraj, in any case, all of us have been your users. We will continue to be your users. Okay, so that's fantastic. Learning from each one of you. Only one small request to everybody, and I'm sure you not deny us, is that, though startup and ecosystem has been a part of our college all these years, and you wouldn't believe that SOCHM took as their pan-India incubation partner in 2019. There's no other MBA or engineering college which they chose us only because of the environment we are offering the startup sector. Generally, MBAs get into this only after graduating several years because they just have 2 years at the campus. But we have been the SOCHM, center for incubation for the entire country. And now, my faculty is also yet to know, my teachers are yet to know, the government has sanctioned us a new MBA program from this year, that is MBA in Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Okay, although it was part of our MBA program in all the 9 specializations, this was a very key component. But now we'll be running a full MBA into this sector. So there I would request more time from Abhiraj. I know today also he very kindly came in. Obviously he has his important meetings. So we'll keep on bothering him, keep on taking time out of him, because he's so concerned about the next generation. He's been so concerned about his workforce. Even the people are working as freelancers with him. So we presume that he would be, in these COVID times, take that call to support the startup ecosystem created by the Government of India. And again, also with Gaurav, Narendra Kumar ji, in any case, we have a right on him. So I'm not requesting him. We will request him to please come and do it. So, but yes, Gaurav and Abhiraj, we would be requesting you. I'm sure you will honor our request. And in that very connection, you won't believe, for the last 4 years, the Government of India's Smart India Hackathon is done only by the engineering colleges across the country. We are the only MBA college chosen for the last 4 years by the Government of India to manage the Smart India Hackathon and to be the host of the grand finale. Even in 2020, it was to happen earlier in May. Then they changed the date to July. Now we got the dates possibly in the first week of August. This time it may happen online, but we continue to be again the only MBA college chosen by the Government of India this year also. So I just wanted to tell you people that I need your help, your support. People like me, Narendra Kumar ji, we are doing all this only because, God has been very kind. There has been so much of learning in life that has happened. Had the opportunity to work in the most adverse sectors and at most adverse, circumstances. That has led to tremendous learning with us. And we are only working the sole motive of taking that learning to the next generation. So that is the focus. That is why the Government of India declared us as a mentor institute. And then I presume, like Narendra Kumar ji, we would have a right on Abhiraj and Gaurav also. Yeah. Please say yes before we wind it up. Yeah.
I'm sure Abhiraj would agree. Abhiraj has been a great supporter of startups. He has, I believe, contributed something like 25 lakhs or something to an agency called ACT Grant for these purposes. I'm sure his heart is in the right place, and he would take what you said.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. We're very happy to contribute in whichever
that
shape.
is the only word I wanted from you. So that, purpose is again, which I say, I'll tell you another 1 minute. When we started our mentorship program 7-8 years back, no industry guys were coming forward. And now we have 278 senior people continuously guiding our students on day-to-day basis. Either they come to the campus when it's comfortable, or they call for students, the designated for students to their offices, and they sit across with them for almost 12 months, once in 15 days or once in a week, just to groom the students. So that has been really part of our culture, and that is what I look for support from each one of you. Thank you so much. All the participants have been very kind. I'm sure you're going back home with a lot of learning. And now we come back to you on the 27th. We have 3rd International Symposium with the Pepperdine University. Previous 2 conferences, symposiums happened at our campus when 35 very senior industry professionals flew in from USA to our campus. This year it is happening online in 4 countries, USA, India, China, and Dubai. And we are third year, we are the host in India. And we'll come back with several industry guests speaking to all of you on the 27th and 28th of this month. And on 30th, sir, on 30th, I want to tell the esteemed panelists, we have our online convocation where Ajay Piramal has very kindly agreed to preside the convocation. And Pawan Goenka from Mahindra & Mahindra, he would be chairing the session with Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development to be the chief guest. So we're just trying, our total effort is to try to take the learning from one end to the other end for the betterment of the next generation of India. Thank you very much. So I keep looking for your support all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.